to all Cinemaster lovers. Hope you enjoy watching. Let's get started. Zombieland is set in a post-apocalyptic world where a zombie outbreak has wiped out most of humanity. Columbus, a cautious and introverted survivor, follows a set of survival rules to stay alive. He meets Tallahassee, a tough, zombie-killing enthusiast who's obsessed with finding the last Twinkie. The two unlikely companions team up and eventually encounter two sisters, Wichita and Little Rock, who are trying to escape to a safe haven in California. Though initially wary of each other, they form a tight-knit group as they navigate through the zombie-infested landscape. Along the way, they face zombies, dangerous situations, and learn to trust each other. The film combines comedy, action, and heart as the group bonds and survives together. In the end, they find solace in an amusement park, where they embrace their new family and continue their journey, still fighting to survive in the world of Zombieland. The story began after the world was completely destroyed by zombies, moving to America with a journalist who is filming the riots that are happening. A zombie approached him and then ate him. In another place, a fat person running and making annoying sounds. Then another place where a girl kills zombies before she gets beaten. Another person living in peace, sitting in his house, but suddenly a zombie enters under the door. He surrenders and dies with dignity instead of fleeing. At that moment, a young man named Columbus, who lives alone because he doesn't go out much from his apartment and doesn't know about the zombies. One day, he hears the sound of a terrified girl knocking on the door, and when he opens it, he finds her to be his neighbor. So she calms down and explains to him what happened. She told him that she was talking on her mobile phone when she saw a homeless person running behind her in a strange manner. And when he got closer to her, he bit her, but she pushed him away and ran. He said to her, "So he was going to harass you and bite you too? That's a terrible thing. If I were with you, I would have killed him." Then he added, "Are you going to go now to take my right?" She said to him, "No, you have to leave now." He said, "Tomorrow?" The next day, he discovered that she had turned into a zombie, and he was shocked and said to her, "What happened? Have you gone mad?" He entered another room to hide, but she blocked the door with her feet so he couldn't close it. He entered the bathroom, then hit her with the toilet flush and closed the door on her. He was terrified and didn't understand what was happening. After 3 days, he went out armed, searching for any living person in the city. He approached a building to inspect it, but he was startled when he saw blood on it. He was startled by the door opening, but suddenly a zombie attacked him. The moment he stepped out of the building, he encountered the first car and got into it to escape the place. But he discovered that there was a zombie in the car, so he crashed it hard and then shot it, killing the zombie. The next day, while he was wandering in the city, he came across another car that stopped in front of him, and he trembled with fear. A person got out of it, acting nobly, and said to him, "Don't be afraid, I'll take you with me. I feel like you're an adventurous young man." Columbus said to him, "I know how to live," and when he offered him a glass of wine, he dropped it on the ground to show him that he doesn't drink. The person asked him, "Do you drink wine?" Columbus replied, "Of course." Then the man started talking about the idea of leadership, and Columbus said to him, "Yes, let's go." While they were on the way, they passed by a supermarket and decided to stop to get some food. But when they entered, the man started playing the guitar loudly to attract the zombies. Indeed, a zombie emerged from somewhere, the guitar fell, and then the zombie entered the man's mouth and killed him. While Columbus was escaping, he found an unharmed woman named Wichita, and she told them sadly that she needed help. And she told them that her sister Sarah had become a zombie, and she didn't know what to do. And suddenly, Wichita decided to kill her zombie sister so she wouldn't see her in that state. However, Wichita decided to kill her with her own hands in a difficult moment, but she needed help. And while she was talking about her condition, they decided together to go to a safe place where they could stay away from the zombies. Then they started fighting the zombies, and suddenly they were threatened by some people who had weapons, but in the end, they escaped and got into a new car. The next day, they woke up to a new surprise. The girls took the car again, took off their clothes, and kept walking all day. Finally, they arrived at the amusement park, and Wichita turned on all the rides, and they kept playing all night. The zombies in the city saw the lights and were heading towards them, and they were enjoying themselves, unaware that the zombies were approaching them. Suddenly, Wichita saw the zombies and tried to take the car and escape. They indeed got into the car at the last moment and managed to escape, but they jumped out before the car sank into the water. They tried to kill as many zombies as possible, but their numbers kept increasing. They rode a ride that went up and down, while the zombies stood below them waiting. Sarah thought and stopped the controller, and they remained stuck at the top. This was a punishment for their betrayal. On the other hand, Columbus said to his colleague, "I have to search for the girls and save them." His colleague replied, "Search at your leisure, and when you find them, say hi to them for me." But he retracted his words and couldn't leave them alone. After hours, they reached the amusement park and killed the zombie that was in their way. Columbus saw the car in the water, so he understood that they were dead. Suddenly, he heard them calling from afar, and he rejoiced and said to his friend, "They are still alive." Tallahassee replied, "Save them, and I'll distract the zombies." And indeed, he made a commotion in the place, causing the zombies to move away from the girls and attack him. He got caught in a game and killed them all in a stylish manner. The problem was that the weapon was running out, so prepare for a massacre that was about to happen. He started shooting the zombies and killing them like rats, while on the other side, Columbus cleverly dealt with the zombies and reached the girls. He saw a zombie approaching them from above, so he started the game and got rid of it. Then he said to the girls, "Thanks God for safety." Wichita hugged him and said, "Don't be mad at me." He replied to her saying, "No, I'm not upset. On the contrary, I'm happy." And the surprise was that the girls confessed their love for each other. Finally, they eliminated all the zombies present, reconciled, and returned better than before. The surprise was that the girls took the car again, but this time they were joking with them and said, "Don't worry." Then they walked together. After 10 years from the first part, 99% of the humans on the surface of the earth were wiped out, and there were no humans left for the zombies to eat, to the extent that one of them was eating a statue, thinking it was a person, and his tongue was stuck. So he pulled it with all his might and tore it off. At that moment, a zombie was attacking a doctor, so he opened the door using an eye scan, entered, and closed it behind him. He said to her, "I'm a doctor, so if you think about attacking me, I'll give you an injection." So she said to him, "Well, because of your sense of humor, I won't leave here until I kill you." And because she was clever, she did something no one expected. She took the doctor's eye and placed it in front of the door's fingerprint scanner, then entered to give him the injection. Columbus, Tallahassee, Wichita, and Little Rock, and they were on their way to the White House to live in it. They encountered a zombie and faced challenges with it. Sarah hit the zombie in the skull, while Wichita had no mercy in his heart. Tallahassee strangled someone, causing all the food they had eaten to convulse. They arrived at the White House, the place where the President of America lives, and enjoyed their lives there, spending beautiful days. One day, Columbus froze his heart and proposed to Wichita, presenting her with the ring of the Queen of America. The surprise was that she refused and said to him, "I have a complex." So he asked her, "Do you have a complex?" "A complex about what?" She replied, "A complex about marriage, because my father divorced my mother." He said to her, "Let me give you a chance, beautiful." And she replied, "No." After that, they started preparing the car and making a special car for fighting zombies. The next day, Columbus woke up to find Tallahassee crying. So he said to her, "What's wrong? Your face is frowning in the morning?" Tallahassee replied, "Wichita and her sister took the car and left." He replied saying, "Don't worry, don't be sad. I was already fed up with them." And while they were walking, they met a normal person named Allison, so they decided to take him with them. A whole month passed, and one day they were at the mall and they were in bad shape. Tallahassee asked Allison, "Can you walk on cigarette smoke?" She replied, "No, of course, you're crazy." After a while, they dispersed and searched for food, and suddenly Columbus met a normal girl named Madison, but she was very provocative in her speech. Despite that, they sympathized with her and took her home with them. Tallahassee was annoyed with her and couldn't stand her, so Columbus went to his side and said to him, "Watch out for this girl. Either you'll wake up in the morning and find she's taken the car and run away, or I'll leave her alone." So he put her in a room by herself. The next day, they woke up to a loud noise, fearing that the zombies had invaded the place. But the surprise was that the girl Wichita had come to take the weapons and leave. Columbus said to her, "You are so rude. Where is my car?" She fell silent and didn't answer. So he said to her, "Speak, why are you silent? Did the zombie leave you with a knife and steal your car?" She replied, "Sarah took it and ran away with Allison." Columbus got angry and broke everything in front of him because he needed the car by any means. She left him to calm down and said to them, "We must save it because we don't have weapons." Columbus replied to her, "I'll just come to get my car back, nothing more." After a while, Wichita retracted her stance and said, "I agree, I will marry you." Meanwhile, Madison came down and was shocked, saying, "Didn't I tell you?" That was a compliment. Columbus added, "I only got involved with her to annoy you." The next day, they prepared themselves to rescue Sarah and took all the weapons with them. Columbus said, "Let's go before this foolish girl comes with us." As soon as he finished his sentence, he found her in front of him, wearing her best outfit and carrying pink bags. She said, "Is anyone going to help me?" Tallahassee replied, "We are going shopping." Then he ordered her to get into the car while he got in to drive them, and they headed south in hopes of finding her. On the other hand, they reached the bus and drove off, but they ran over a barbed wire which damaged the tire, so they had to return to the broken car again. Madison was recounting her adventures with the zombies, which annoyed them greatly, and she was eating almonds while talking. And after a few moments, her stomach started to hurt, her temperature rose, so she left the food and ran to vomit. She had said she was sure that this girl would turn into a zombie. Columbus replied, "Okay, I'll kill her." He ran after her in the forest and said, "Don't be afraid, I won't kill you." But her appearance began to turn into a zombie, so she said to him, "Stay away from me." At that moment, they heard the sound of a gunshot, and they understood that he had killed her. They kept walking for hours until they reached the hotel, where they began to suspect the place. And when they entered, they discovered that it was owned by a global figure named Elvis. They started to spread out in the place, and Tallahassee found a piano and played it. Suddenly, a woman entered and threatened to kill him, so he said to her, "For God's sake, is there a zombie playing the piano?" Then they started talking to her, and she told them that she was the owner of the hotel and her name was Nevada. She said to them, "What is your story?" She answered her, saying, "We are looking for two people," and she described their appearance. Nevada said, "Yes, they were here 2 days ago and headed to a place called Babylon, which is a place where weapons are prohibited and surrounded by walls, and many people live there." They agreed to stay at the hotel and leave the next day. The next day, they packed their belongings and decided to leave. Nevada told Tallahassee that she admired him and advised him to take care of himself. Meanwhile, the young people arrived at Babylon and handed their weapons to the security at the fenced-in place to ensure that they wouldn't use the weapons. The place was located on a piece of land in the middle of the forest, far from the zombies. On the other side, another team was on their way to Babylon and found a truck driving in front of them. They were surprised to find Madison there, and she said to them, "I wasn't going to turn into a zombie, I just have an almond allergy." She thanked Columbus for shooting away from her. They continued walking for 2 full days until they safely arrived at Babylon. The authorities there told them that they had to surrender their weapons before entering, so they did. And upon entering, they discovered that the place was wonderful inside. They met Sarah, hugged each other, exchanged kisses, and Sarah apologized to her sister Wichita for what had happened. Sarah said to them, "It's better that we leave here because we won't adapt to these people." Columbus replied to her, "What after we have surrendered our weapons?" At night, they all decided to stay at the place, but Columbus said to them, "I'm going back to the hotel to live with Nevada. Do you need anything?" Madison replied, "It's okay." While they were walking, they were surprised by a whole army of zombies heading towards Babylon because of the lights and celebrations. Columbus ran to tell them, "In 5 minutes, the zombie army will arrive." The problem is that they aimed all the weapons and there's nothing left. But Tallahassee devised a clever plan and ordered them to bring gasoline, which they used to encircle the area, thus managing to control the situation. Finally, Columbus proposed to Wichita again, and she immediately agreed. And thus they continued their adventures in a new place. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button to get more new videos. See ya!